Well, it's another evening. Time for another episode of The Long Dark. Hopefully this goes slightly better than my last episode. Or at least slightly less eaten than our last episode. On the bright side, at least we have plenty of food again. Such a pretty game. Oh, and in case you missed it in my last video, I highly recommend you check out the April 4th update on the Hinterlands website, because it contains a lot of interesting information about their plans for story mode, why story mode was delayed again, and a roadmap for what they want to do going forward both before and after story mode's eventual launch. Okay. Resume. So first things first, let's pick up our bedroll. There's the exit. Make a quick journal entry. Everything was terrible. While trying to climb the mountain, I was ambushed. First by a bear that I was barely, puns, able to escape using one of my precious few flares. While trying to find shelter, tired, hungry, and exhausted, I was ambushed by by a wolf. I foolishly dropped my torch in the snow, aka I pushed the wrong key, so instead of brandishing it, I put it up, allowing it to close in for the attack. I just, barely, survived. Then got attacked again before finding shelter in a cave. Downside, lots of wounds. Upside, wolf steak. Yep. Okay, there we go. Oops, wrong key. Now the question is, do we want to drop some stuff in this cave? As I hate to say it, I somehow have a bolt. The wolf hide isn't going to do us much good, and it weighs a fair bit. Now the problem is, I don't think you're ever going to see that, but oh well. On the off chance we come back here, if we remember to look exactly down at our feet, there will probably be a cured wolf hide in there. Now let's see what the weather's like. Cold, but not too cold. Now we are horribly overweight. That's mainly because of all the firewood we're carrying. I'm kind of reluctant to give up the firewood, especially since we are also carrying an extra rope. So once we throw down the rope, then our carry weight will be normal again. Just in case of making it up here without freezing. Too bad. Remember, the goal is to always go up. You can go any direction you want on Timberwolf Mountain, as long as it's up. So you want to get to that plane. It'll take a good long while, but we will get to that plane. Ooh, is this harvestable? No, unfortunately that's part of the environment. Now if we look here, we've got our next little waypoint. We've discovered a cave. Downside of the cave is that, actually this is kind of warm. This cave is an outdoor location, so it doesn't automatically save by coming here. And the other downside is, we're exposed to the wind. See, we've got sticks, firewood, torch, wood matches, a bedroll. The only thing I'm actually going to search is the plastic container.
This stuff will come in handy.
Crackers. I'm actually going to eat those salty crackers. It's a really low condition anyways, and this way if I get sick, I can just run down to my nice hiding hole. Okay, so far so good. Now that Mountaineer's Note, you could make the assumption that this is where the Mountaineer was trying to get to. Or at least that's the assumption I'm making. Bedroll, basic supplies, firewood. Seems logical, right? Now if we poke our head over here, this is where we want to put our next rope. As you can see, this is a fairly short distance. And there's how you get up to the next level, but unfortunately, there's no rope there right now. But we are carrying it. So what we're going to do is hope we don't stumble across another wolf, because yeah, we're only at, well, we're at 95% condition, so that's not too bad. But we want to avoid having more fights if possible. One of the things on the roadmap for future development for the game is, one of the things on the roadmap for future game development is, there we go, more narrative development. So hopefully we will, in the final, as we get closer to the final release, see more journal pages and whatnot. Give you another reason to climb up the mountain as for. They're hiding, but I found them. Stick.
Not being useful.
Oh, more firewood, right? And I was lucky that I didn't get a bleeding wound. So we're going to collect all this old man's beard lichen, so that we have enough to make old man's beard lichen to make more old man's beard bandages. Well, that almost looks like you can make it down there. I don't want to find out. I want to be, you know, safe and cautious and not jump off a cliff like I would. I don't actually remember what's in this direction. But so far so good. Remember, if we get cold, we can always go back to that cave and light a fire quickly. Oh, hello. I see a rope. Where does this rope go? This rope leads... Ah. That looks familiar. But unfortunately, as much as I'd like to go down there to poke through those shipping containers, or cargo containers, I don't really feel like tangling with the wolf right now. But this rope here is definitely going to be left where it is. So I sense that it may save my bacon these days. So now we go back in the correct direction because, again, we saw that nice little sheltered area on the mountain. All it's missing is a rope. So we want to find out how to get to that area. Put a rope there so that we can then avoid having to come out here every time we want to continue up the side of the mountain. Nope, branches are useless. It is getting quite cold, but we're still okay for the time being. And we got lots of daylight. So I want to find the way up before. I want to find the way up before we warm up. More sticks. Always pick up sticks. Okay, it is objectively very cold right now. I may be being a bit too cavalier. Especially since I'm now exploring for the heck of it. So the problem is if I start getting cold, like I said, you can handle a lot of damage on Timberwolf Mountain. But if you get hypothermic, you're in serious trouble. Yes, this mountain is majestically beautiful. And the weather is actually being quite benign right now. There's not even any animals up here at the moment, which is really, really lucky for us. But it's a case of bad things will start happening if we're not more careful / more aware of what's going on. So we're going to harvest these mushrooms since I accidentally drank my mushroom tea. And I want to replace that mushroom tea the next time I light a fire. Now I'm fairly sure this is a bear cave, even though I don't see paw prints inside it. That is definitely a bear cave. Cedar firewood. Now the question is, do we light a fire in here and warm up for a few minutes, or just keep going and before the bear comes back? How are we doing for tinder? Wow. That was... This is incredibly foolish of me. I'm up here without any tinder. Wow. That is incredibly, incredibly foolish of me, so I'm going to quickly make some tinder plugs. Well, that's good, the wind stopped. So the wind stopped, but it got colder. Wow, that was very, very, very foolish of me to be this far up the mountain without any tinder plugs or firelighting. And unfortunately, we're now freezing. Even more unfortunately, I got turned around, so I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Got lots of daylight though, so we're going to go to the very back of this cave. We are going to start a fire before we freeze to death. And we're going to have to use one of our pieces of cedar firewood. We'll add 2 sticks to it. We'll harvest the 3rd stick for another tinder plug to replace the one we used lighting this fire. Good. Fire lighting skill 1 up. Getting nice and warm. Slowly, but we are getting warm. Now we're just going to melt a ½ liter of snow. If we do this right, we should get a ½ liter of snow and a torch out of this. And maybe even some rescue tea. Yes. Torch. Oop, holster. That's good. We're about halfway warm. So we got 6 hours of daylight, and I really don't want to be in that cave overnight in case the bear comes back. It's unlikely the bear would come back because there's no carcass outside, but I don't want to take the chance that the bear is going to come back. Especially because I really want to find that climbing rope so that we can set up our shortcut so we don't have to take this very, very painfully long route every single time. Climbing rope should be around here somewhere. Let's see, what do we have here? This is maple. Yep. Okay, we're going to take this sapling because we're going to use it for crafting a bow later on. More painkiller tea. I really hope I didn't miss the rope. That'd be quite nice. It is getting cold out here. Rabbits. Rabbit. Let's keep picking up sticks. Pick up sticks, ignore the branches. it's actually becoming more and more probable that I might have gone right by the rope. This is starting to look like we're getting to a cliff here. Just gotta keep a close eye on. Yep, we went too far. Now, right below us is the entrance to Timberwolf Mountain. We can cross that log to go on the other side to do more exploring. But looking over there, there's nothing I really want to get to, especially when I've got dry mouth, I'm hungry, I'm winded, and I'm getting numb. Plus, we passed a bear spawn point, so we're gonna quickly turn around and hug the cliff face here, and really, really hope we find that rope soon. Because we got lucky that there's no animals up here except those rabbits. But there's zero guarantee that it'll actually stay that way. Oh, are these birch or maple? Because, again, if they're maple, I kind of want to take them. Nope, birch. Birch is what you use for making arrows. There's generally... Oh, the weather's gonna change. Birds are flying. Sky's getting green again. Anyways, there's generally more birch on the maps than maple. And birch is usually easier to find than maple. Like, finding this piece of maple was quite lucky, actually. Like, there's guaranteed locations, well, not guaranteed, but there's locations on the map with higher likelihood of finding it. But as a rule of thumb, maple's generally harder to find than birches. Plus, finding arrows is usually easier than finding bows. Like, I haven't found a bow yet, but I have found several arrows. What on earth is that rope? So, because it weighs, like it has weight, we don't want to pick up the birch saplings. Because in all likelihood, ooh, it's getting dark, that's another bad sign. Because in all likelihood, we wouldn't have a use for them, at least not immediately. Back in the farmhouse, we do have several arrows already. But we do need bows. Especially since you can't repair the bow, so you generally want to have at least two. One to use and then one to fall back on. Oh, finally, there's the rope. Oh, and there's a dead guy over there too. Oh, and we're freezing cold again. What, oh, that's a deer. Interesting. Now, it's kind of windy, and that deer is probably frozen solid. So I'm going to assume that deer is one of the deer that is dropped. And try to power through and go up this climb. Again, don't want to get hypothermic up here. We're not at the risk of hypothermia yet, but it's going to be very, very... We're going to be pushing it. And we're 3 kilos overweight, which is going to be bad for whether or not we can get to the top of this in one shot. Because we kind of have to one-shot it. And our stamina bar is also decreasing quickly because we did not start at max stamina. Okay, we're committed. We are committed. Now... Okay, now we're at risk of hypothermia. Now if you recall, we had to come quite a ways in whatever direction that was. So if we continue following this cliff edge, we will get back to where we need, back to where we saw the first drop-off point. Put our rope there. And then be able to avoid that entire loop and us getting lost and running by the bear den every time. Because there are bears and whatnot up here. And I'd prefer to avoid them if I can. But yeah, right now our biggest goal is just getting the heck off this mountain. So here's a rock, so once we put the rope up, that will solve a lot of our weight problem. Oh yeah, shoot, we're exhausted now. Okay. Drink some water. Yell cowabunga. Because we haven't really explored up top there. So I don't know where the shelter is, I don't know if I have to climb to get the shelter. I don't want to walk into another bear again. And we know that down here there's a cave. And a cave means that we can warm up, get out of this wind. So we've got a 12-degree wind chill for crying out loud. That's pretty severe. Oh, salvation. Okay, we made it to the cave. It's now warm. Feels like 6 degrees in here. So, I'm actually going to risk resting for an hour. I might freeze to death by doing this, but I'm going to take the risk. I don't see a game over screen. Aha, it worked. Now the problem is, if we stay out here all night, we're totally going to freeze. So hopefully one of these is cedar. Fir. Sure, you. Put this over here with the other ones. Kinda wishing I'd harvested that deer right now. Yeah, it's going to keep dropping off up here. So even though this cave is relatively warm, it's still -9, and there's still a slight wind chill. So we're going to beat a hasty retreat while there's still daylight to walk. With cool skies. We're going to beat a hasty retreat while there's still daylight to walk, and get back down to our safer cave. Safer meaning it has an interior loading area. Fortunately, it's a bit of a hike down here, but oh well. Needs, must, etc. Aha! I see the entrance to our cave. One of these days I've got to explore down that slope to see where it goes. but with 2 hours of daylight, well, we still have 2 hours of daylight. I can poke my head around the corner. Funny if we can see the Mountaineer's cabin and go, we did all that work for nothing? Yikes, I got steep. Oh! Remember the engine and the other rope we saw? This is where it is. That's kind of cool. Like that entire curve up to the cave and then over to the edge and then down. If we go right through where that wolf is, we can just walk right up the other rope and be at the cave. I kind of prefer going up that direction because then I don't have to fight things. That's also good because now if we need to, we know where there's another hiking rope that we can pick up. Now we're going to use some more of our precious lantern fuel. And we're going to drop that maple sapling I picked up. If I can find it. There we go. Going to go a little bit further in. Put our storm lantern down. Really wish I had more fuel, but you do what you can with what you have. And hopefully this lights on the first try. Because if it lights, then we can turn our lantern off. Basically make some hot herbal tea, eat a wolf steak, get a good night's sleep, wake up tomorrow. Ah. Darn. Oops. Nope. Fire. If at first you don't succeed, cycle through all of your equipment. Oh yeah, sticks have higher. I should have just started with a stick. They have a higher % chance of lighting. Like, I technically don't need my lantern on to do this. It just makes it a heck of a lot easier when you can actually see what you're doing. Okay. Add fuel. Roaring fire. Oh, how'd you turn it off? There we go. Sometimes the interface for this game can be rather annoying. I'm out of fuel? Oh crap. Okay. Gotta keep that in mind. I apparently have far too many torches. Okay, so we got our fire going. It's nice and toasty in here now. So first things first, we're going to make sure we have enough tinder plugs so that we don't just immediately die. Because death is bad. Let's get 4 tinder plugs. That's not bad. Sticks. So harvesting a stick took about as much time as a stick takes to burn. We got a torch here that's partially used, so we can add that back to our fire. Throw a piece of coal in there, but I don't think we'll be up that long. Cook our rose hips. Melt a liter of snow. Always good to have lots of water, even if it does weigh a lot, because we I think what's going to happen is I'm just going to leave a liter ball of water with our root pies. Actually, we can probably melt another liter. Oh, it's now dark. Hopefully there's some time to boil it. Now this may impact my plan of making tea. Is it gonna finish? Oh, just enough to finish. Okay, so we are going to have our hot cup of herbal tea. Eat a wolf stick. Have a nice drink of water. And we may be exhausted. We can go now have a nice nap beside the embers of our fire. There we go. So that's it for this episode of The Long Dark. Not quite as eventful as, oh gosh, everything is trying to eat me, but hopefully just as informative. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.